an early look at what we can expect from the local market this session. Stan Chamu from IG in Melbourne joins us now. Stan, good morning to you. Great to see you there. Cyprus back in, I guess, the forefront of all investors' minds after that ultimatum issued by the ECB overnight. I guess that situation doesn't look like improving, and we're not going to sort of see any sort of outcome until early next week, if at all then. Do you expect that volatility to flow through to our market today?
Yes, absolutely. I think this will be the main source of volatility heading into the weekend. Of course, at the moment, with markets at elevated levels, no one's really going to want to hold on to some of these asset classes without a bit of confirmation on the Cyprus end that we won't see any further turmoil early next week. Of course, with the ECB finally saying they'll give Cyprus an ultimatum of March the 25th to come up with something before they pull their funding. This really does put a spanner in the works. Of course, we were hearing increasing rhetoric that Cyprus doesn't matter. We don't really have to focus on them. And I think this is going to prove a lot of people out there wrong, because it certainly seems like markets are looking at Cyprus and what's going on over there, and what sort of effect it might have on the rest of the periphery. Of course, we did see the euro manage to hold its ground with some calmer sort of bond yields, particularly with a Spanish bond auction going off pretty well at about 4.9% yield. And this has really helped underpin the euro in the near term. No one's really wanted to sell the euro when we've actually got a fairly calm situation in the bond markets. This has probably been the best lead for the euro over the past few weeks. Now, with the euro, it's currently around that 129 mark. But of course, at the moment, there are various headlines coming out of Europe, particularly on Cyprus, especially to do with deposits of over 100,000 euro. We'll really need to see how politicians play this, but it seems like that the people with less than 100,000 might be somewhat exempt to the final deal that Cyprus will propose over the next few days, and they'll probably focus more on deposits of over 100,000 euro. Of course, it seems like there's a lot of political pressure as well, particularly from Germany, which feels that these sort of depositors need to contribute to this bailout for it to work. So that probably will be the focus of markets over the next 48 or so hours. Of course, with a Monday deadline, it really doesn't give depositors much time to react at all, considering Cyprus banks have actually been closed. Now, just moving on to the rest of the currency space, we saw a pretty big plunge in the dollar-yen. Of course, it was Haruhiko Kuroda's first day at the helm, and he had a speech last night at about 9 p.m. Now, there were no real game changers in this. There was nothing to fan any further sort of yen weakness, and this really disappointed the market and resulted in the dollar-yen plunging below 95. So that will probably be the main currency pair to watch in Asia today. We'll probably continue to see some investors try and accumulate this pair on the dips. Of course, we're probably not going to get anything out of Japan on the stimulus front earlier than the official April 3rd to 4th meeting, and that probably will be something that will keep some of the bulls out of the picture. But of course, it's still one of the main pairs to watch this whole year, in fact, given their commitment to that 2% inflation target.
All right, what other stocks and sectors do you imagine are going to be in focus at the open today, Stan?
We're actually calling the Aussie market down about 0.4% to the open. Sorry, about 0.7% to the open to 49.24. Now, that's obviously taking into consideration some of the leads that we've seen, particularly with European and US equities struggling despite a mixed bag of economic data. Of course, in Europe, apart from just the Cyprus issue, we really did see that the structural problems are beginning to really reveal the cracks, with the PMIs disappointing across the board, particularly the German manufacturing PMI reading, which was expected to come in expansionary territory and actually dipped into contractionary territory. I think that was quite alarming, with Germany being the biggest economy in the Eurozone. Now, in the US, we did see some positive signs on the economic data front, with unemployment claims continuing to drop. And at the same time, the Philly Fed manufacturing index showing some pretty strong signs. But unfortunately, this isn't going to lead to a positive start for the local market. And if we actually do open around that 49.24 level, we'll be down 3.8% for the week. So it certainly will be a situation of up the stairs and down the lift, so to speak, for the local market, and a pretty nasty end to the week, I suppose. We also have this whole political situation that put a spanner in the works yesterday, and of course we'll continue to hear some comments about it. But of course, for now, it seems like things are relatively calmer, much calmer than they were yesterday in the afternoon, really. So we'll probably have to just look at some of the more sector-specific leads. We've got the resources looking at another poor showing. We've got BHP pointing down 0.4%. And we really expect these iron ore names to remain under pressure until we get a bit more clarity on what to expect on the iron ore front over the next couple of years or so. Of course, that Goldman Sachs report from a couple of days ago or so has really hurt these iron ore miners in the near term. We've got Billabong set to come back online today. Of course, yesterday they went into a trading halt, dropped I think around 22% or so, and they did come out and say that two bidders currently in the hunt for the company are still involved. So we'll have to see if investors will be convinced enough to get back into the stock. There's also been some talk that Sundance might consider completely abandoning that Hanlong bid. So that might be another issue to keep an eye on throughout the session. I think the gold names might outperform. We had gold ticking a little bit higher. We had Oceana Gold trading pretty high in Toronto for its Canadian listed stock. So that will probably be one of the bigger gold miners to look out for today.
Stan Shamu from IG, thanks so much for the update.
Cheers.
Julia Gillard has survived a challenge to